Welcome to Library Chat. Today, we are at a potential watershed moment in India's geopolitical journey. A confluence of events is reshaping the global landscape, demanding a reassessment of long held assumptions and strategies. We are still trying to unpack the implications of the recent imposition of tariffs by the United States on India, a move that has perhaps caught many by surprise. It seems like decades of carefully nurtured relations between India and United States, built on shared values and strategic convergence, have suddenly been challenged. Some might argue that these events represent a setback to what was once hailed as the most consequential relationship of the 21st century. As India navigates these turbulent waters, it must recalibrate its strategic priorities and assess its position in a world undergoing rapid transformation. To help us navigate this complexity, we are honored to have with us Dr. Arvind Gupta and Lieutenant General R.K. Sahni with us once again. Dr. Gupta and General Sahni, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your sharing your insights and expertise to help us understand the implications of recent events and how India can navigate these new challenges. Dr. Gupta, I'll start with you. For our viewers who may not be fully up to speed, could you please explain what President Trump's recent announcements regarding 25% tariff and an additional 25% tariff because of India buying Russian oil, what it entails for India, and what it practically means for the Indian economy and our trade relations with the United States?
Thank you very much. Indo-US trade is about $130 billion in merchandise and about $80 billion in services. So it's the 130 billion component which is going to be impacted by these tariffs. And the balance of trade is in India's favor. And we are exporting to them things like pharmaceuticals and some, machinery and those kind of things. So there is no doubt that there would be an impact on these sectors. Gems and jewelry is very important, for instance. There will be a very solid impact on these sectors if these tariffs continue. Although I must say that Indo-US negotiations on a trade deal are still continuing, so we don't know how they end. But I think at present rate, this 50% tariffs is quite steep, and these sectors would be impacted. But in terms of overall economy, I think we would be able to weather the storm because Indian economy is quite large and there is quite a lot of potential for diversification. So I think this incident or this shock that he has delivered in the end may spur a diversification of India's trade to other areas, which in the long term might be beneficial for us. But yes, in the short term, there would be some adverse impact.
General Sahni, Pakistan's relationship with the United States seem to be undergoing a significant upswing. They have received 19% tariffs. Their Army Chief Asim Munir had a lunch with President Trump, and he's likely to visit again, which is the second time in 2 months. They have secured a $2 billion plus IMF bailout package, reportedly with United States support. Considering Pakistan's history as a state sponsor of terrorism and a nuclear proliferator, what, in your opinion, could be the motivation for the US to seemingly prioritize its relationship with US over India? What are the potential security implications for India if this trend continues?
To judge this particular aspect, you will have to go back into the history. Ever since their inception, Pakistan has always tried to seek a strategic parity with India, and they were able to trade their geostrategic location for that purpose. And from the very beginning itself, they joined the Western Bloc led by America and became a part of their military bloc also. So this is an old relationship which they have milked for quite some time to come. And this relationship again was nurtured by the Americans because they used them as front state with their operations against Taliban. And if you recollect that their beginning of the trade relationship with China also was facilitated by Pakistan. So that relationship has continued to what you call simmer. It went down because uh, you recollect that they were playing both sides as far as the war against terror is concerned. And one had thought that this relationship will never recover. But they are, in a way, you see, the point is that there is no concept of national security or national honor as far as Pakistan is concerned. They can trade anything. So they always tend to bounce back by catering for the, you know, requirements of America. So also in this particular case, no, what is happening today is that when they require Pakistan to put pressure on India, and they require Pakistan as a frontline state again when they are doing when they had the operation against Iran. So they again get silence about it. So this is a relationship which has been always used by the Americans, but it has also got willingness on part of Pakistan, and they have been encouraging them. Not only encouraging them, they are going out of the way to be useful to America. So we should look at it in that particular way. And as far as you are talking about their loans, etc., they have existed on loans. I'm in a country which has gone to the IMF at least 20 times. And every time they get a loan from the IMF, there are celebrations. So you can imagine the state of their economy. So despite all these problems, they are still very useful as far as America is concerned. So you should look at it from that context. So far as our effect on our geostrategic, what do you call, environment is concerned, we have to be wary about this. Because basically, the point is that we have to make sure that their relationship with America doesn't impact our strategic well being. So that is something which we have to continue to do that. And we also got to see the way they have played they are playing so blatantly both with China and America. That is an area where there is a requirement to put our attention to.
Dr. Gupta, Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to China for the SEO summit has been announced, reported by the media. And interestingly, the Global Times has voiced support for India in the face of these US tariffs. There is also renewed discussion about the revival of the Russia, India, China format of discussions, which has been dormant for a while. How do you interpret these developments? Could this uh, signal a potential shift in realignment of India's strategic priorities? And what implications might it have for India's relationship with the United States?
See, when if there is a stress on Indo-US relationship because of these tariff issues, then it's but natural that some kind of a rebalancing and realignment might take place. It's still too early to say what exactly this shape it will take, but the fact that the Prime Minister is going to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we are a important member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and if he also meets other leaders, particularly President Xi Jinping, then that would certainly bring some new developments in Sino-Indian relations, which are already for the since October 2024, they are some kind of a forward movement in that. So it will give a push to that. Russia, we have always been a very important partner for us, and we have stood by them, and they have stood by us. So it's but natural that today, if 25% tariffs, additional tariffs that he has imposed on us, if they are linked with Russia, then obviously it has an impact on Indo-Russian relations also. So the Indian foreign policy planners must be thinking about how to deal with this new situation. These two visits, our NSA's visit to Moscow and the forthcoming visit of the Prime Minister to SEO certainly are very important and could lead to some rethinking, recalibration of India's foreign policy.
Thank you, sir. Sir, General Sani, I mentioned in my opening statement as well that the US India relationship was once called the most consequential relationship of 21st century by then President Bush. Considering these recent events, will this be a permanent setback to India US relations? And how do you see this panning out?
I will look at it slightly philosophically. Our relationship with America didn't start off very well, if you recollect the old times after independence, because we chose a path of non-alignment. And after that is strategic autonomy. So basically, the relationship with America requires you, if you want to have a close relationship with them, there is a requirement to be something like, their ally, which we are never. We were a partner, we're supposed to be. And what you're mentioning, the Bush era, Bush era was one of the points where the relationship changed. Relationship changed to a very significant strategic, what we call partnership, which continued to grow. In a sense, the both sides required it, both sides contributed to it. But never in this relationship we ever were ally for that matter. So we had our own priorities, had our own strategic autonomy, and we made sure that during this relationship, America knew that it will not impact our relationship with other parties, for example, with Russia, even for some time with China. So this relationship was very unique, and this was accepted by the Americans. I must say that. And they sort of, in a way, accepted it and encouraged it. And that's how the relationship grew closer. And they developed a strategic trust. And we thought that we were the most significant partners, or what do you call, uh, participants in this venture when we wanted to have a understanding with each other of democracies, and it ultimately came into Quad, which didn't find its potential, but nevertheless offered a forum where we were able to discuss our strategic compulsions and try and work in concert with each other. So that particular thing somehow at this particular time is under threat because unfortunately, Mr. Trump has a very peculiar way of dealing with countries. And that is where the problem has arisen that he would like to impose his thinking on us, which is very difficult for a country like India. But I would still say that our relationship uh, possibly will not be destroyed in this way. So we have to make sure that we navigate these turbulent times in a very strategic and a patient fashion, but never given to sort of a reasonable demands and not to subjugate our strategic interests. So very, very important, but as you're very right, a difficult time.
So, uh, Dr. Gupta, you mentioned that we will, there will be a need for diversification. Would you say there have people have spoken about it that given the current geopolitical environment and the recent actions by United States, is this a 1991 moment for India? Should India use this adversity to accelerate domestic reforms and reduce reliance on specific trade partners? And do you have some specific recommendations and a roadmap?
I think diversification is always good. And we have actually, in the last few years, if you see, we have diversified a lot. Our engagements have diversified, our trade has diversified to some extent. But then now there are global headwinds. I mean, Indo-US trade, which is the most important partner for us. So if there's some problem, we need to diversify. So it will be good for us, and maybe this particular moment will spur us into that. And I understand that there are going to be now rethinking as to how we should diversify. Maybe some government support, etc., would be coming in, and our export promotion councils, and they should also have a look at it. In terms of specific areas, I think there are two, three areas that we should really be looking at. One is Africa. Africa is today a 1 billion plus market. It has abundant resources, mineral resources, and the population is very young, very dynamic. And this is one population which will continue to grow right up to 2070, 2080. So there is a lot of opportunity there, and we find that in some parts of Africa, particularly West Africa, there is a massive opportunities. And our Prime Minister recently went to some of these countries. So I think Africa could be one place where we should really put a concerted effort for diversification. The other area is Latin America. We haven't quite looked at it. So that's another area. Third is Central Asia. We have had some kind of a dealing with Central Asia, but very a small amount of trade. But I think I would also put a lot of stress on Russia, the trigger for Russia is coming from the development of their north and far east. And in 2019, Prime Minister Modi had visited there, and we had some discussions. And there was a LOC also, that was line of credit, that was also announced, and a Chennai Vladivostok corridor was also announced. So there is a huge potential, particularly in the minerals resources, critical minerals, etc. So that's another area where we could diversify, and a lot of incentives are on offer today. So I think our companies and our export promotion councils, etc., should look at it. Last year we had a meeting of Northern Forum, and some Russian people from Sakha Republic came here, and they told us how much opportunity is there. So today, I think diversification is very important, and fortunately there are many opportunities also, because the other markets are getting saturated. Europe and America, etc. There are too many of discussions, debates that take place. Whether it is CBAM, which will restrict, there is a carbon tax which will restrict our exports, and we have to work through very complicated FTAs, which take decades to. So while those markets are still important, but the unsaturated markets is what we should be looking at, and I think there are plenty.
So, sir, I also asked you about the domestic reforms. Are there any areas where we can use this opportunity to accelerate domestic
See,
reforms?
domestic reforms, as we have talked again and again, firstly is the ease of doing business. There's a whole lot of areas in which it has improved, but I think we're still not come up to that level. Another area that I think we could look is, we have today, we should develop our own mineral wealth. There is a lot of minerals even in India. There is thorium, for instance, which is in the sands of Kerala, and this can really revolutionize our transition, build up of the nuclear energy and transition to net zero. That's another area that we could look at it. But I think the most important part, in my view, is really focusing on the manufacturing side. We have neglected manufacturing. The share of manufacturing in the Indian GDP is hardly about 16-17%. We should have gone up to 25%. And today there is a possibility of looking at that. And PLI schemes, etc., have certainly improved. Then I think aerospace, it can be a very big trigger for our manufacturing and our economic growth. So we should look at some of these areas and develop them.
So, General Sani, sir, Director Dr. Arvind Gupta mentioned about India's national security advisor traveling to Russia. In light of the potential penalties for buying Russian oil and the new tariffs, is this visit linked? And how might India-Russia relations evolve? Is stopping the purchase of Russian oil an option for India?
See, basically, our relationship with Russia is much beyond America. So to link it with our problems with America would not be fair, because our relationship is very vast as far as Russia is concerned, and it has continued in all the turbulent times and otherwise also. And despite our, what do you call, reach out to America, the relationship was there. So his going there can be very many things. It can mean a lot many things. And we also, don't forget, we are also involved in talking about a possible ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. And we played an active part into that, and we tried whatever was possible. And there is also a strategic linkage as far as we are concerned. There is a question also of the equipment, which we are, what do you call, legacy equipment and otherwise also. And there are a lot many strategic things to be discussed. So that's why I think I would link it with that particular business. And there are so many other businesses. So I won't say that it was particularly because of our current problem going on with America. It's a part of the ongoing process of a relationship which requires to be continued to sort of discussion and renewal. That is concerned. And you mentioned about the other one.
Is the stoppage of buying Russian oil an option for India?
You see, stoppage of American oil, Russian
oil.
oil, as the director was saying, at the moment, if you go into the details, the difference between the normal oil from other sources and the from Russia is difference of about $2. Somebody expert told me. So if you look at the overall saving which we do by buying the Russian oil is about $2 billion, which is not a big thing as far as we are concerned. But the problem is that if we stop buying the Russian oil, it will affect the overall global oil prices. Because that is the reason why at one time, American themselves, as you know, our former ambassador, American ambassador to India has said that America encouraged India to buy the Russian oil. That was to make sure that the oil prices continue to be stable and they did not hit the roof. And also, Russia didn't get disproportionate price because the prices would have gone up. So I think that is something more into this, what do you call, as far as the Russian oil is concerned. We are not dependent on it. We have it's an independent country's choice for it. And we are an energy starved country, which we have 86% of the energy has to be imported. So we look for the best bargains. So it is not fair to link it up with other areas. That's what I would say, like to put across.
Dr. Gupta, as we wrap up this discussion, what are your final thoughts on the current geopolitical landscape, the challenges and opportunities facing India, and the most crucial steps India needs to take in the coming months to navigate this complex environment?
So we are at a inflection point, I think, in the geopolitical landscape, and we will have to now probably go back to the drawing board, recalibrate our policies, etc. Diversification is very obviously we should be doing it, but we should not, you know, eh, dump any relationship. Relationships are very important. Sometimes, even in Indo-US relationship, there could be a difficulty and there could be some changes, but it's a strategic relationship for us. So we have to make sure that this relationship is not destroyed. So I think any knee-jerk reactions, hurried reactions, outlandish statements from any side, that should be avoided. And we should really work at the what is the basics of this relationship, which is trade, people to people, technology, etc. And if some recalibration needs to be done, that we should do. But we should certainly also look at on our east, because a lot of our trade imports and exports are happening from the east, which includes China, which includes ASEAN, and these are probably some opportunities there, and we should really look at our relationship with Russia and China, and make sure that this remains working relationships, good relationships to the extent possible, deal with our problems within the framework of cooperation. There, I think one area where we have to probably put extra focus because of this geopolitical turbulence is our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is in a pretty, turbulent state right now. Pakistan, you mentioned, but I can talk about Afghanistan has always been like that, and Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, etc. So, in our next phase of our, recalibration of our foreign policy, we should ensure that we really integrate with our neighborhood. Then, if you look at the larger areas, we have had Indo-Pacific was mentioned, but we should also look at the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean, and particularly the maritime part of it, is very important. And how through we have this new Mahasagar, which is the a big acronym for basically linking up
Mutual and holistic advancement.
that's right.
Unity and growth.
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
So it's a higher version of Sagar.
Right.
So, but we have to put resources. Saying is not enough. We have to put resources there. So this is another area. Then another one area that I think we have to look at is on the technology front. We must acquire technology sovereignty to the extent possible. Data sovereignty. These are the real drivers for growth. So that means more on R&D, make sure that our talent doesn't go away, जिसको पलायन जिसको बोलते हैं, migrating to other countries. Our capital doesn't migrate, so we have to hold them together. One area which I think we have to put special focus is in the outer space. Outer space is another area where a lot of what is happening today will have a reflection in outer space. Starlink, for instance, thousands of satellites. The Chinese are going for thousands of satellite constellations. So these constellations will control navigation, communication, and will have economic consequences, military consequences, national security consequences, etc. We have to make a big effort in making sure that the outer space. And then one area which is I know is very dear to your heart, but also my heart, is the polar research and polar. Arctic is very much it is going to have geopolitical consequences, but I can see the Antarctica also becoming a area of geopolitical contestation maybe 30, 40 years from now, and where some countries like China are already making preparations for that. So I think these polar regions are also an area where we should really be focusing on.
And finally, if you would like me to, I just as
Sure.
the director has said, I think all relations have to be nurtured. And the relations are not personality oriented. Our relationship, for example, with every country is beyond the leaders there. It is the country to country relationship. And as very correctly the director has said, that we have to keep that in mind. We are a civilization state. We have to deal with all the problems in a very matured fashion. We are not used to, and we never take decisions in a hurry. And we don't get, too, what do you call, disturbed also. That's the nature of the Indians. I think.
Keep calm when it is turbulent around you,
Yeah.
our philosophy says.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's library chat. My sincere thanks to Dr. Gupta and General Sani for their invaluable insights and expertise. Your analysis has provided much needed clarity on the complex challenges and opportunities facing India in this evolving global landscape. We truly appreciate your taking the time to share your perspectives on this. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope this discussion has been informative and thought provoking. We welcome your feedback, so please share your thoughts on today's discussion. If you have any questions you'd like us to address in our future episodes, or if there are any specific topics that you'd like us to explore, please let us know. Your input is valuable in shaping the direction of future library chat conversations. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged. Jai Hind.
Thank you.